My mother-in-law moved in with us a month ago. I began to notice my stuff in the bedroom being touched, furniture rearranged, stuff moved, etc. I felt like I was going crazy because my husband's the only one who has access to the bedroom, and he usually doesn't touch nor come near my things. So I figured it must be his mom walking in and snooping on my personal things. I told my husband and he said his mom would never. I had a huge hunch but couldn't install a cam in the bedroom to catch her in the act. So I got myself one of those fake positive pregnancy tests and threw it in the bedroom's trash can. Note, the trash can was placed in the corner near the closet. The next day after I got to work, I received tons of calls and texts from my in-laws congratulating me on my pregnancy. My husband came over to my workplace and was all worked up about it, asking since when was I pregnant and why didn't I tell him. I asked how he found out, and he said his mom found the positive test in the trash can in the bedroom. I asked if his answer just confirmed that she's been snooping in the bedroom all along. He had a realization moment, but demanded we stick to the bigger issue. I said there was no bigger issue because the positive test was fake, and this whole thing was done to expose my mother-in-law snooping. He was not convinced. He had me take an actual test right before him, and he was livid, asking how I could lie about such a thing and break his mom's heart, since I knew that she longs for kids. I got a lot of crap because of this from him. His mom and family are now calling me a liar and manipulator. Am I the idiot? Important info. Nothing gets taken or goes missing from the bedroom. Not the idiot. You didn't lie, you set a trap. You caught a rat. She's violating someone's privacy, and her feelings are hurt. She's trying to take everyone's attention away from the fact that she found out the wrong way. OP, don't let her. But if my husband ever demanded I take a pregnancy test in front of him, I would tell him only if he puts his head in the toilet while I do it. OP, throw out that whole family. He forced you to take a pregnancy test in front of him? He was an insensitive, controlling monster. This is your warning. Do not make a family with him. I've seen so many times that birth is not a spectator sport, and I thought humanity was done. But now we have pregnancy tests aren't a spectator sport? LOL. Yep, it sounds like you have a husband problem as well, since he was focused more on you breaking his mom's heart, instead of her, number one, snooping in your marital bedroom, and number two, her blabbing mouth to everyone, instead of immediately going to you and your husband. Of course, snooping is terrible and deeply disrespectful, but it's made even worse by how she went behind your back to spread the news without any confirmation or follow-up. And she's like this about a pregnancy? I imagine she just has zero respect for anybody's privacy or boundaries at all. Yikes! I would not want to raise a family around someone like that. I also have a weird fear that OP should check her birth control. Who knows what mother-in-law's doing in there? OP says nothing is missing, but I've heard that microwaving birth control pills renders them useless. She'd never even know something had happened to them. I can't believe so few people yet are mentioning this. If mother-in-law is longing for kids and habitually snooping, tampering with birth control is not beyond the realm of possibility. There's nothing worse than feeling like you can't relax in your own home or like your things aren't safe in your own house. Ordering a lock for the door and kicking mother-in-law out seems easier than living in fear. Suppose you were preg. How dare she announces it? So many red flags. One of you needs to go, and it shouldn't have to be you. The lock is an issue because my husband wants access to the room at random times, and we only have one key. I don't have time to lock or unlock the door all day long. No sufficient solution if you ask me. My husband wants this. My husband wants that. For Pete's sake, what do you want? His mom is snooping through your things, and he's worried about how much you hurt his mommy's feelings. Your mama's boy husband dismissed your concerns. It sounds like one of you girls should move out. I wonder which one your husband would prefer. Girl, you have a severe husband problem. Rethink the marriage. I'm male 28, have been with my fiance, female 30, for a year and a half. In addition, I have a stepson, preschooler, that I adore and treat as my own. My older brother's wedding is soon. I intended on going, but after I found out that my stepson was not invited, we started having issues. My brother explained that it's the nature of the wedding they chose, which is child-free, but my fiancée was upset that this rule was also forced on the family. She got into arguments with my brother and his fiancée and decided not to go to the wedding. As a result, I called my brother and told him I no longer wanted to come after what happened. He began arguing, saying my fiancé was unreasonable and had convinced me to miss his wedding. I told him that this was just me supporting my family after the way he and his fiancée treated them. His fiancée said that they don't owe us anything and that this is a wedding rule that applies to everyone. I said, fine, then I'm not coming. My brother is angry, and my parents are calling me unreasonable for being willing to miss my only sibling's wedding, and basically let a woman I've only known for a year and a half drive a wedge between us. They said if I go through with this, I might lose my brother, my support, and comfort forever, and so much damage and hurt will come out of this. I stopped responding to them, but members of my extended family say that my fiancé and I are creating the problem by trying to control my brother's wedding. You are the idiot. Welp! I'm sure your brother would find out how little you care about him sooner or later. I hope he remembers and acts accordingly. Your stepson wasn't targeted. It's a child-free wedding, which is becoming more and more the norm, given how some people allow their children to act. This had nothing to do with your stepson, but you and your fiancé tried to make it personal. Since I cannot believe you found your fiancé's gaslighting, trying to pretend children of the family should all be entitled to attend, regardless of the rules, to be an actual legitimate argument, I can only assume that you chose to back up her ridiculous position to prove your loyalty to her and the boy, rather than believing she had any real leg to stand on. I'm glad your brother's finding out how quickly you're willing to shank him to validate your position in your relationship. OP, you will destroy your relationship with your brother if you don't drop the tantrum, and the kid is not even your stepson yet. I suspect your brother will experience massive schadenfreude at the shenanigans that your future bridezilla will pull if she is this entitled about a child-free wedding that, gasp, excludes a child. If the child were a teenager, then perhaps it might be different, but a preschooler is exactly the reason that people have child-free weddings, because what very young child would be perfectly behaved through a ceremony and not cause havoc at a reception? Unfortunately, most do not react well to strange, loud situations, especially when their schedules are out of whack. Between travel time, the ceremony, the noise, the people, the lack of rest, and nap time, all of this inevitably results in some form of breakdown. Not to mention that a child his age wouldn't even remember the wedding. They're insisting on taking their toddler to a wedding for checks notes. No reason. OP, feel free to stay home. It'll probably be better without you. But this situation is completely your fiancé's doing and is meant to drive a wedge between you and your family. This all started when my son Ben graduated high school 7 years ago. There was a formal dance, and I was very excited about the mother-son dance. But Ben would say he wasn't going to dance every time I brought it up. So I didn't take him seriously. I thought he was just being shy. When we got to the formal, everything was beautiful. But when it came time for the formal dance, he was nowhere to be seen. I approached my older daughter, Alice, and my husband, who I could see were talking and laughing. I asked if they'd seen Ben, and they laughed while they said he was hiding so he didn't have to dance. I was absolutely heartbroken. My son was literally hiding from me. I stood in the corner during the mother-son dance, watching all his friends dance with their moms. I couldn't take it, so I told my husband and daughter I was walking home. When they got home, Ben walked right past me and went to his room to get ready for the after party. My daughter hugged me and went to get ready because she was driving Ben to the party. After our children left, my husband and I argued about what had happened. He said he was appalled at my behavior and that I was acting like a child. I said that the least Ben could have done was dance with his mother. He said today was supposed to be about him and his accomplishment, not me. But I think it should have also been about celebrating the people who helped him to get where he is now. Things got quite heated, and before going inside, my husband said, He wouldn't force his son to do something he didn't want to do on his day. I was taken aback by this, so I just stayed on the porch, trying not to cry. I thought my husband would support me. Later, my daughter returned home and saw me crying. She gave me a hug and gave me a chocolate bar to try to cheer me up. If no one else, my daughter would be on my side. She danced with me at her graduation. She danced with her father. She understood how important this day was for me. I asked if she was on my side. She said, "I know you're upset, but I don't know what you expected from him." It took a few days before we really spoke to each other again, and after a few weeks, everything went back to normal. Coming back to the present, my daughter recently got engaged. We were talking about it on a family FaceTime, and the topic of when Ben will get married came up. He said he was never going to get married because he didn't want to deal with another round of dance drama. When I asked him to clarify, he said that he was obviously referring to his graduation. I was appalled at this attack. He won't get married because of me? I won't lie. I'm upset that he still doesn't want to dance with me, even at his own wedding. Now my husband is mad at me, and my son refuses to answer my calls or texts. Am I the idiot for making a scene and starting an argument because my son never wants to dance with me? Edit. My son is now 25, my daughter's 29. OMG, how little self-awareness can one person have? Did you really find it appropriate to make your son's graduation all about you? When your child said, "I don't want to dance," that should have been the end of the story. It sounds like you walk over his boundaries often, and that was one of the first times he spoke to you about it. You are the idiot, and best of luck when he's choosing your nursing home. My goodness, I feel bad for the daughter, being her mom's emotional support animal. OP's narcissism is glaring. Every single thing comes back to her. Main character syndrome to the max. OP, you're going to be a very interesting mother-in-law. I can imagine your reaction when your son dances with his wife. Imagine when OP interrupts the honeymoon. You forced your son to hide somewhere because he knew you would show no respect whatsoever for his boundaries. Then 7 years later, he cracks a joke about it, and you go into another huff? Of course you're the idiot. Why do you even need to ask? Jesus, it's been 7 years, and you're still acting like this about it? I mean this in the nicest way possible. Please seek help. A very good therapist can help you navigate these feelings and better deal with minor disappointments and people setting boundaries you might not like. That may help you repair the relationship with your son, or at least not make it any worse. My husband, 33, and I, 30 female, have been together for 9 years now. When we first started dating, we both discussed the most important thing to us, traveling. Unfortunately, we just have different ideas of what traveling is. I work remotely, but I make 6 figures a year, so it's worth it. Plus, the benefits are amazing. I get about a month off a year in paid time off, which is almost unheard of in the US. So I usually like to use my PTO to travel the world. My husband works for 2 months and then has the next month off. With every new site, we get to move to another state, and that's his favorite thing. He gets paid a lot less than me, but he says it doesn't matter because he's living the dream. I used to align my vacation days with his month off so we could travel together. This is the first year I deliberately planned my vacation days when he worked. Here's why. During our first year of dating, I wanted to do something small. So we traveled to some of the national parks and had a wonderful time. It was gorgeous, and he loved it just about as much as I did. The next year, we decided to visit England. He was insufferable. All he did was complain about everything. It was a nightmare, and every day he'd find something to complain about, until eventually, I cut the trip short and just took him home. I thought maybe he just didn't like England. So I tried a few different countries over the next 3 years, and he acted like a baby every single time. We went to Italy, Greece, and China, but he hated everything. Finally, I gave up and just told him to plan our next vacation. He took me to Disneyland, his hometown, Las Vegas, and Florida. Nothing outside of the continental US. I never complained about any of his vacations. I went in with an open mind, but always came home feeling cheated out of an experience. I mean, I haven't gotten to enjoy one of my vacations in 5 years, and I feel like I'm missing out. So I scheduled my vacation for January, not one of the months he's off, and I have plans to fly to France. I told him this was happening from the start, but I guess he thought I was joking this entire time. Now he's begging me not to go. He told me that he would miss me too much. I told him I just wanted to enjoy a vacation. And besides, I was only going to be gone for 2 weeks. I would use up only some of my vacation time in France. I was going to spend the first and last week of my vacation with my husband. He threw a tantrum when I told him I was still going for 2 weeks, as my boss had already approved it. He said I might as well stay in France, and then called his mother. She called me an hour later to yell at me, and I had to explain myself. And now his whole side of the family is arguing with each other about it. Even his mom and dad are fighting about it. I just feel like this whole thing has gotten way too out of control, and I may be the idiot for starting all this family drama. Not the idiot. He called his mother? He called his mother? He's a grown man who's been with you for 9 years, and he dobbed on you to his mother? Does he sulk and moan when he doesn't get his own way in other aspects of your life too? I'll admit I find the separate vacations weird, but you told him and told him. Not your fault he shrugged it off. He threw a tantrum and called his mother. That doesn't sound like an adult. Yikes. Every time I hear that, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. My husband has never, and I mean never, told his mother the details of our disagreements. If my mother-in-law called me an hour after we got into a fight to defend him, literally, I don't even know what I would do. It's insane. You're certainly not the idiot for starting any family drama, mainly because you weren't the one who called mommy to tattle. She has no business calling to yell at you. Their family dispute is on your parents' shoulders, not yours. This is a much bigger problem than misaligned vacation expectations, but consider whether this is the right spouse for you. Girl, go enjoy France. I feel like crap right now, but here we go. I work for a pretentious company where everyone tries to kiss the boss's butt. We have a huge holiday party every year. It's always a fancy venue, cocktail attire, and great food. When I first started working there, I was excited to take my wife to it, but it's now something I dread. My wife gets herself so stressed over it that she's miserable for weeks leading up to it. She agonizes over what to wear, always goes over budget, and spends the whole day on hair and makeup. Then when we get there, she honestly embarrasses me, and again I feel like crap. Every year she tries so hard to befriend my boss's wife, who clearly wants nothing to do with her, and literally looks at her husband like, "Save me." I always feel my boss is laughing at me. Then she spends the next couple of days making fun of my boss's wife and calling her a witch, which I'm terrified will get back to them because you know how gossip works. It's all very hard for me to watch. I've tried to talk to her about her behavior, but she gets defensive and nothing changes. Finally, this year I couldn't take it. I told her there wouldn't be a party, just a lunch during the workday for employees only. I planned to go alone and make an excuse for her. I hate lying, but I felt like I'd given her multiple chances to change her behavior. So what would I do? At this point, she's hurting my career and hurting herself mentally. Unfortunately, she found out and is obviously furious. She feels I took away a huge night from her and is very hurt that I'm embarrassed by her behavior. Not the idiot. You're being responsible. Tell her you're sorry for lying. Take her to a dolled-up, expensive outing and do it annually, the week after the office party. Of course she's hurt and you shouldn't have lied, but some people need saving from themselves. And of course you need to protect your career for both you and your wife. Good luck, OP. Sorry you won't be having intimacy for the next 2 months. I want to know why your work party is something she considers a huge night for her. She's not only potentially detrimental to your career, not hers, but she's incredibly self-centered about it. Almost an everyone's the idiot here situation, because you probably shouldn't have lied. A lack of communication and the ability to do so kind of points as to why you're in a marriage with someone you feel you can't be honest with. I'm not a therapist, and at the very least here, she sounds a bit exhausting. Your company sounds exhausting too, so maybe you just have a type.